So now that we know how to plot points and how to sketch graphs based on plotting points, we're going to talk about lines. So a special type of graph, a line. Now what makes a line a line? These are all lines kind of because they're not curved. Well, that's not a very mathematical way of saying anything. So we know something is a line if it has a constant slope. So you can see all these lines, they're flat. They're not kind of curving. They just have the same slope everywhere. So we need to define what is the slope. So the slope of a line is going to be rise over run. So if I have a line here, and let's say this point is 1, 3, and this point is 2, 8. When I say rise, I mean going from this point to this point. How much did I go up? Well, that's talking about y's. So if I'm at currently 3, and I'm going to go up to 8, my rise there is 5. For the run, I'm talking about going from here to here. How far did I go over? Well, here my x-coordinate was 1, my y-coordinate there was 2, so my x-coordinate there was 2, so my run was 1. So we would say that that graph, or this line, has a slope of 5. The slope between the 2 points was 5 because the rise over run was 5. Now in general, how do you find the slope? So in general, let's let P be x1, y1, and let's let Q be x2, y2. Then the slope, which we always label as m. So remember, the rise was the difference in the y values, if you go back to that previous picture we had. So what's the difference in the y values? Well, that's y2 minus y1. The difference in the x values, that's going to be x2 minus x1. Now just a little kind of warning here. If you have 2 points, it doesn't really matter which one you label your first and your second. But once you decide which point is going to be x1, y1, you have to be consistent with it. So you can't, you remember in the distance formula, it didn't really matter if you interchanged your y's, the y2 and the y1, that didn't matter. But for the slope, it really, really does. So let's do an example here. Let's find the slope between the points 0, 3, and -1, 4. So my slope, you got to decide. Let's go ahead and just say this is x1, y1, x2, y2. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This gives me 1 over -1, so -1. So my slope there is going to be -1. Now you might be saying, on all the ones that we've looked at, the slope has been positive. But if you think about this, here's 0, 3. I also want -1, 4. If you connect those, the line kind of goes down from left to right. So my rise is negative as my run is positive. So that's how we end up getting a negative slope. Let's try one more. Let's find the slope between the point 3, 5, and the point -3, -7. So slope is going to be rise over run. This time, let's label this one as x1, y1, and this x2, y2. It doesn't matter which one you label, you just got to keep it consistent once you decide. So my slope is going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So on the top, I'm going to get 12 because the negative of a minus cancels out, gives me a positive, over 6, so 2. So my slope is 2. Now you want to be careful. All the slopes that we've done, I've had lines that look like this or this, something like that. I haven't had a line that does this. So I haven't had a vertical line. Now think about a vertical line for just a second. If I have 2 points here, the slope is measuring the rise, so whatever distance that is. But then what is my run going to be? So the run for a vertical line is 0. We can't divide by 0, so the slope of a vertical line is undefined. Slope of a vertical line is undefined. Because remember, you're dividing by the run. Well, if you're not going left or right from one point to another, you're dividing by 0, and we can't do that. So the slope of a vertical line is always going to be undefined. Now what about a horizontal line? Here's my x, here's my y. If I go from this point to this point, what's my rise going to be? So what's my rise over my run? Well, the rise is 0. Didn't rise at all. I don't know what my run is. It's definitely not 0 though. So the slope of a horizontal line is 0. So the slope of a horizontal line is 0. So horizontal line, it has slope. That slope is 0. A vertical line does not have slope. It's undefined.